If you thought the tension was already high, episode 7 proves that it was only the calm before the storm, because this episode is not loud chaos. It's slow, uncomfortable, calculated chaos. The kind that sneaks up on you while everyone is still pretending things are under control. And at the center of it all, once again, is Galino. But this time, he doesn't need guns, threats, or violence. All he needs is patience. What makes episode 7 truly insane is how clearly we see that Galino is no longer reacting to events. He is directing them. Every conversation, every deal, every moment of silence feels intentional. And the scariest part is that the people around him still think they are making their own choices, Cammy especially. She believes she is protecting MTEX. She believes she is doing what is best for her family. But from the outside, it is painfully obvious that Galino is tightening the leash without her even noticing. The pressure on MTEX is unbearable in this episode. The 45-day deadline is no longer just a number hanging in the air. It feels real, desperate. Every oil well matters, every hour matters, and that is exactly why this situation is so dangerous. Because when people rush, they make mistakes. And when mistakes happen, Galino is always the one standing there with a solution, or at least something that looks like a solution. Tommy, on the other hand, feels like a man slowly being pushed out of his own company. You can sense his frustration growing, especially when it comes to Cammy. There is so much that goes unsaid between them, and episode 7 makes that silence almost unbearable. They are standing on the same side, yet somehow miles apart, and Galino knows it. He doesn't rush to break them, he lets the cracks widen naturally. Because a relationship doesn't need to explode if it can quietly collapse instead. And then there's the oil wells. This is where the episode starts to feel truly ominous. Something is wrong. You can feel it long before anyone says it out loud. The stress, the rushed decisions, the feeling that things are being pushed faster than they should be. And in a situation like this, accidents don't feel accidental anymore. They feel convenient. Convenient for someone who benefits from MTEX, failing just enough to become fully dependent. Rebecca's storyline becomes impossible to ignore in this episode. Her work, her calculations, her confidence in the process suddenly feel fragile. And when doubt starts to creep in, it doesn't just affect numbers, it affects trust. If something goes wrong in the wells she's involved with, the fallout won't just be technical, it will be personal. And Galino doesn't need to confront Rebecca directly. All he has to do is let others start questioning her competence. Meanwhile, Cooper's situation feels like a ticking time bomb. On paper, his deal still looks promising, but episode 7 makes it painfully clear that potential means nothing without experience. And the more pressure he feels to succeed, the easier it becomes to trap him. Debt doesn't arrive all at once. It arrives in small, reasonable steps. And Galino is very good at making bad situations feel like opportunities. What makes this episode so unsettling is that there are no clear villains in the room yelling or threatening anyone. Just people smiling, agreeing, nodding, while slowly losing control of their own futures. And as everything moves forward, one question becomes impossible to ignore. By the time episode 7 moves forward, the emotional weight becomes almost heavier than the financial pressure. Because now it's not just about money or oil wells, it's about trust quietly breaking down in every direction. And once trust is damaged, Galino doesn't even need to interfere. People do the work for him. Cammy's position becomes more complicated than ever in this episode. She is trying to be strong, logical, and decisive, but every decision she makes seems to pull her deeper into Galino's orbit. What's scary is that she doesn't see him as a threat anymore. She sees him as stability, as support, as someone who understands the burden she carries. And that emotional connection is far more dangerous than any contract she could sign. Because once you believe someone is on your side, you stop questioning their motives. Tommy, meanwhile, feels increasingly isolated. He sees the danger, but he can't prove it. And in episode 7, that frustration starts to show in ways that make him look like the problem. The more he pushes back, the more unreasonable he appears. And that is exactly how powerful manipulators win. They don't silence you, they let you speak until others stop listening. And Galino sits back, watching the divide grow wider with every tense conversation. Rebecca and Charlie's storyline takes a sharp emotional turn here. Rebecca is no longer just the confident professional who has everything under control. She feels the pressure, she feels the eyes on her, and when something starts to go wrong, even slightly, the room shifts. Doubt spreads fast. And suddenly, the person who was supposed to be an asset becomes a liability. The fact that Rebecca turns to Tommy in an emotional state says everything. Something has cracked, and once that crack exists, it can be exploited. Cooper's situation becomes even more uncomfortable in episode 7. He wants to succeed. He wants to prove himself. But wanting something badly can blind you to the fine print. Every step he takes forward feels like it comes with a hidden cost. And Galino's presence looms quietly in the background, offering help that never feels free. The more Cooper struggles, the more dependent he becomes. And dependence is Galino's favorite currency. In contrast, the softer storylines feel almost intentional in their placement. Ariana and Cooper's relationship brings a brief sense of warmth, but even that feels fragile. You can't fully relax knowing the forces working against them. Happiness in Landman never exists without a price tag. And while their future looks hopeful now, Episode 7 subtly reminds us how quickly that hope could be used as leverage. Rebecca and Charlie's connection also becomes more important here, not because it's perfect, but because it's real. In a world full of manipulation and hidden agendas, their bond feels like one of the few honest things left. And that honesty might be exactly what puts them in danger later on. Even Angela and Anninsley, who once felt like background noise, start to feel like emotional anchors. Their presence becomes a quiet reminder of why all of this matters. When the pressure gets overwhelming, they are the ones who remind us that life exists outside boardrooms and oil fields, and that contrast makes the darkness ahead feel even heavier. By the end of episode 7, nothing has fully exploded yet. But everything is set, the lines are drawn, the debts are forming, the trust is cracking, and Galino doesn't need to act loudly anymore because his trap is already closing. So the real question is, when the damage finally becomes impossible to hide, who will realize first that episode 7 was never just another chapter but the beginning of the end?